Welcome to Build Out with Jim Kunkel, your go-to broadcast for learning more about business in the real world. Your host, Jim Kunkel, who is an accomplished professional in business development, sales, and marketing, and is a technical content creator along with being a rising influencer on LinkedIn. On Build Out, you'll get the latest information and knowledge from subject matter experts from across the globe. Okay, let's get this Build Out broadcast started. And here's your host, Jim Kunkel.
Welcome to Build Out. Very excited to have a return guest, a very special guest, a very meaningful guest for me, a powerful guest for me, a personal friend of mine, Eleni Anastos. Eleni, welcome.
I am so grateful to be back with you here, Jim. Thank you so much for inviting me back. And it's always good to connect and share.
For those who might, and I'm thinking they're far and few between, who might not know who Eleni Anastos is, could you provide your professional background? Who are you?
Yes, who am I? Professionally, I'm a business strategist, a business coach. And I also say that I'm a prosperity coach because I do a lot of money mindset work. It's the one thing that I see as a common thread, regardless of what industry someone is in, regardless of whether they're an entrepreneur or an executive. We all have that relationship with money, and it's really important to get your head on straight where that's concerned. And I'm also a speaker and an author, and I truly feel blessed to be able to connect with people. And as you well know, I'm mission driven to help people create the next chapter that could be one of their best chapters in their life, professionally and or personally.
Yeah, professionally, you helped me so much when we first met many moons ago, and really talking about reinvention and really looking at, and we're going to talk about, infinite possibilities. You have so much opportunities and you might not know it. And I found myself that way as well. And you were a very strong inspiration for me. Your book is absolutely amazing to know about your background and also to what you've overcome. And you learn so much from those that you read, but also, you and I have become friends, and I've learned so much from you. But you know what, Eleni, before we go into talking about infinite possibilities are within you, I do have a very special sponsor who has a discount link that I will provide in the chat, and it's with NordVPN. So, Eleni, if you could hold on 1 second for a special message from NordVPN, the sponsor of this broadcast.
Stuck at home? Make the most of the internet with NordVPN. As you're trying out new apps to save you from boredom, NordVPN will make sure that your data is always protected. And you can still travel, well, virtually, by connecting to VPN servers in almost 60 countries. Up for a new gaming challenge? Make sure that cyber threats don't get in your way. Feeling curious? Access the news from all over the world firsthand. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
So a VPN is a virtual private network, and it really does help protect your identity. And also, too, when you're surfing on the internet, you can actually locate yourself in different parts of the country. The other thing that's nice about a VPN, that if you want to see some content that's blocked from you from a streaming provider here in the United States, you can set yourself up in Germany and be able to watch stuff that would be blocked for you because of your location. You can actually make yourself appear from Germany and be able to get and unlock that content. But with the link, you can get an initial plan savings of 2-year savings plan of up to 63%. So you're talking about great value, but also protecting your online identity and a lot of other benefits as well. So please check out that link. Take a look at NordVPN. You'll help the broadcast out, and I appreciate any support of my content you can provide. Okay, Eleni, I got that out. Let's talk about infinite possibilities. So when you and I really became introduced to each other, we were starting to, maybe there was light at the end of the pandemic, tunnel. And at that time, I wouldn't say that I was in a funk, but I was trying to figure out who I was related to my professional self in the industry I work, but also in the aspect of me becoming a potential influencer, let's say, a broadcaster on not only this platform we're on right now, but other platforms as well. And you really helped kind of motivate me. The first question I have for you is, what drives you when we think about infinite possibilities? What are your drivers?
My drivers are seeing people that hold themselves back. They take themselves out of the game. It could be because of age or circumstance, and I don't want to see anybody stuck, including myself. So I know when to get support and help as well. First of all, none of us are meant to do this alone. And when we first became acquainted, you were sharing your interest and your passion for what you're doing here, but I sensed the hesitation. It's not, you weren't doing it professionally. And I hear from so many people that they don't move forward. They don't go after that dream because identifying with it, they might say, but this is all I've ever done. And they're referencing their job, their career, which could be fantastic. Whether you're an executive, a manager in any industry, or an entrepreneur. But one thing that I really want to drive home for people, and you can tell I get excited about it, please hear me when I say it may be all you've ever done, but it's not all that you are. And if you've got that passion, that desire inside of you, it's there for a reason. And that's why I was so excited to cheer you on, Jim, to encourage you, because you're so good at this. And just because you hadn't formally done it before didn't mean you didn't have the skill set and the passion and the drive to make it happen.
Yeah, there's no such thing as accidental meetings. There was a reason for you and I being introduced to each other and meeting each other and really kind of developing a strong professional relationship. What I'd like also to point out, you have done some sessions, and what I've noticed with the sessions that you do, the coaching sessions through Facebook group and other type of online sessions, is that you have a generational gap that you work with, and not in a negative way, but I'm talking about a really positive way, in a generational gap. I've seen, college students. I believe you had someone who was probably barely out of their teens in the one session, but then you had somebody who was already retired, and I believe maybe in their 70s. And
Yes.
The thing that I found is that your messaging that you provide, and really the coaching and the support, it's benefiting people. It doesn't matter if you're in high school, college, if you're a young professional, if you're a mature professional, or you're the retiree. And I think that is what I really enjoyed about your sessions, is that to see the differences between the generations, but also they seem to be getting exactly the same thing out of it. And that's really, you are more than what you think you are.
Yeah.
You just have to unlock it. And
Yeah.
passion is a big thing. And you and I are very passionate in different topics. And, one that we share together is the broadcasting, and then, really communicating and engagement with people. We really enjoy that. Some of the success stories that you have, is there anything that you could share without giving away any names?
One of my favorite success stories that comes to mind. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for talking about the difference in the generations. And yes, there may be an age gap, but they both, regardless of the generation, if they both have the passion, they both have that dream, and they're both still wondering what's next. What's my next chapter going to be, whether you're 20 or 70, and it's viable in both decades. So I really want to encourage people again, please do not take yourself out of the game and think you cannot create something new because of age or circumstance. And one of my favorite success stories, very, very talented, successful corporate executive, very well regarded, very well respected. And, without question, was passionate about what he did, very much committed to it, but had lost some of that, that energy, that connection. And honestly, it was the corporate structure, in his words. He said, I love what I do, but I'm so tired of the BS I have to deal with. And I know people in all arenas can relate to that, regardless of your industry, regardless of your current station in life, there's always going to be some kind of BS to deal with. Let's just acknowledge that. And I'm not saying, that as a negative. It's the good, the bad. It's the whole picture. And I said to him, you can still do what you love, but from the outside going in. And he never allowed himself to think, wait, I'm already of a certain age. I've already been doing this for, 30 years. You mean I can leave and create a whole new chapter for myself as an independent, as an entrepreneur, as a consultant? He said, yes, yes. And it's been so gratifying and such a blessing to work with him and see him living his best life, because I'll never forget the day he said to me, and he was, I think, early 50s, mid 50s when we started working together. He said, I'm too afraid to wake up and suddenly be 65 and realize I wasted what could have been a great decade. That just hits my heart. I don't want anybody to wake up and feel like, whether you're 25 or 65, that you wasted a decade because of your circumstance, because of age, and if you took yourself out of the game. So it's been very gratifying to see him thrive, to see him so happy, and to see him so focused on the next chapter.
Yeah, that is such a powerful story. And, I always view, when I hear the stories of friends or colleagues or anybody I might encounter where they're saying, life has been kicking the crap out of me. And, this is the best I'm ever going to achieve. And I just want to say that is so untrue, because, when you face adversity, when you face the everyday stresses of life, that gives you an opportunity to really kind of reassess. And, one of the things, coming out, we talk about the Great Resignation coming out of the pandemic. A lot of people did a lot of soul searching, when we went into a lockdown and you weren't allowed to go in the office and all these things were happening. Really, a lot of people started doing soul searches. And that's why we saw, if you want to call it the Great Resignation, it wasn't really a resignation. It was more of a reinvention point. And it was something that was created in a way by government action saying go into lockdown, but it gave an opportunity for people to kind of reassess themselves, reinvent themselves,
Yes.
and to look at ways that they could change. To your point, maybe you are in your 50s or you're in your early 60s and you're saying, okay, I want the next decade to be, I want it to be my decade, and this is what my passion is. This is what I want to do, and to live that, you have that capability. People can adjust their lifestyles, and you're a big money mindfulness person. When you talk about, you could have zero money in the bank, you can still turn that around. There's no, I'm
100%.
only going to live on Social Security. And, you always hear this, I always relate to the story of, the grasshoppers and the ants, where the ants were diligent and putting away, and then the grasshoppers were showing up to the doorstep in winter saying, please help us, feed us, take care of us. We have nothing. And, you teach people that it doesn't matter if you have zero in the bank,
Right.
you can actually wind up in a very positive position as you mature out, or as your time goes on, and live very comfortable. How important today, when we think about recessionary pressures on, now we're starting to see indications of a tightening of the job market. But again, I always say with the job market tightening, that's opportunity for you to, if you're a quality person, that's a good opportunity for you to get a quality position, because most of the employers are not just hiring to hire, they're hiring specific, critical, important areas. And so that's a great opportunity during recessionary or downtimes. When it comes to money mindfulness in a recessionary period like we are right now, how critical is that for people to think about that?
It is extremely critical. And the reality is the money is there. Money is still in circulation. It always has been. And yes, of course, the last 2.5 years, the horrific, downfall of things that happened because of the pandemic, businesses closing, people losing their jobs. I fully acknowledge that. And I mean, no disrespect whatsoever. But people are still making money, and money is still exchanging hands. So if someone is stuck in the mindset of, a very limited mindset, a lack mindset, if you will, that there's never going to be enough to go around, I can't make any changes because it will cost me. And I hear that all the time. And years ago, I was there. I should just stick with this and stay the course. It's safer. It's more secure. I understand that. And I have a lot of respect for that. But also, when somebody is at a point, at a crossroads, and they're not happy, they don't feel fulfilled, That's the last thing I want you to do, is to stay stuck because you're wondering where the money's going to come from. Because to me, it's always mindset first, mechanics second. And it's making that decision that you're going to make a change. Whether it is a new career, maybe you're staying in corporate, maybe there's a business that you want to work for that you respect, or maybe you do want to start your own and you want to follow your entrepreneurial dream. You know, money impacts everyone on a daily basis and always will, and it touches every aspect of a business. So we're never going to get away from it. So it's so important for me. I want people to put themselves back in the driver's seat with money. Instead of letting the money control them, you can control it. And once you really get a handle on that with, mindset and strategies and tips that you can employ daily, you're going to realize you're going to be okay. You're going to make it. Because the one thing we know without question is change is inevitable. And reinvention, purposeful reinvention, is a vital part of navigating that change to move forward. So don't keep yourself stuck because you're wondering if the money's there. It is there. You just have to bridge the gap from where you are financially to where you want to be. And that takes some support. That takes some help, but it's absolutely doable.
It's very doable. And the key important thing to it for the self is commitment. It takes a commitment, and you talk about, journaling, writing things down related to your reinvention, your goals, also too with the money mindset, to write down so that you can actually understand exactly, what are you doing with your money? And to your point, money should not control you. And when I think about it, I think happiness at the end of our lives, we can't take any material wealth with us. It doesn't go with us. So happiness and really feeling very good about yourself, that is super critical. Money is important because, it does help sustain the life and everything like that, but it's not the end all be all. It's really that personal happiness that means more than anything.
And it should be your choice. Because if I'm invited somewhere to talk just about money mindset, I remember during one speech to a group of entrepreneurs, this young one man, and I knew I triggered something in him because he said, "What's wrong with making $50,000 a year?" And I said, "Absolutely nothing. If that's what you want and it meets your needs, absolutely nothing." And he said, "Well, it's not about the money." And I could obviously see that he had a great disconnect with his relationship with money. And from my perspective, I don't care if you want to make $50,000 a year or 50 million or anywhere in between. I just want you to feel and know with the right support that it can be your choice and you can put yourself in the driver's seat where money is concerned, where you're controlling it so you can own your financial future instead of being afraid to create a new chapter because right now you can't see how the money's going to show up. And the how at the very first moment in time does not matter. You mentioned commitment, and it's the decision that comes first. Commit, decide that you are going to create a new chapter for yourself, whatever that may look like for you. Then we'll reverse engineer and strategize to figure out how you can get to the money. But you have to decide first. You got to be committed to your own dreams.
You definitely have to be committed. And earlier you used the word own. And we'll probably have to try to bring this back up, or you might want to repost this. Is where where Eleni owned something was you had done a pitch in front of a multimillionaire, and maybe you want to tell the story. This is what really impressed me of being confident and really being able to achieve success, even if you're dealing with somebody who people might think are higher than you in stature and level. Well, you want to go share that story of your pitch? We'll call it a pitch.
Yes. You're talking about the segment from my book that I shared at the end. It was wonderful. I was very blessed to meet Dave Bing. And for those of you that might not know him, just a brilliant man. Obviously, he was an NBA player, but so brilliant as a businessman, Bing Industries. And he's just a good human. And I went to hear him speak many, many moons ago. I can't even remember how long ago it was. It was more than a couple decades, I'm sure. And it was in an auditorium, and we were clearly told that he would not be able to take questions, that there was not going to be any meet and greet type of thing. And, I didn't care. I was just so excited to be in the audience with him. I'd always been a big fan. And a personal aside to that, my brother Peter had passed away just before that. And he was like Dave Bing's biggest fan. So I'm like, I have to be in this room. And I kind of felt like my brother was with him. And he, at that point, I think that year that I met him, his company did a little over 600 million. And I wanted to speak to him directly so much. And then, of course, in my head, I could be, well, what's this little old, independent consultant going to do with a $600 million company? And when they ushered us all out and I walked out to the car and I'm in the parking lot and I'm thinking, I have a shot. And I said to myself, what's the worst thing that could happen if I march back in there and try to meet him? And I literally asked myself, and I'm saying this out loud in the parking lot, and I said, they could say, get the crazy bitch out of here. And I was okay with that. Like, if that's the worst thing that happens, is they kick me out, so what? So I marched back in, dodged in between his entourage, and I just went right up to him. And I introduced myself to him. And one of the lessons he shared that really resonated with me, when he was playing for Syracuse and they had won a national championship, and they all kind of came back the following year, kind of full of themselves on the first day of practice for the new season. And the coach was like, that was last year. What are you going to do today? And I shared with him one of my mantras from growing up in the restaurant business that my grandfather, the restaurateur, always said, we're only as good as our last meal. So just because we had a great night last night doesn't mean we get to, take our foot off the pedal the next day. And it was just so nice engaging with him. And he asked me what I did. And at that point in time, I said, I help businesses, find money when the banks say no, equipment leasing, AR financing. And he asked me for a card. And he said, I'd like you to come in and talk to a couple of our executive VPs. And I said, sure. I, shakingly handed him my card. And I thought, oh, he's just being polite. And I walked away happy. And I felt like my brother was with me when we met. And the next day I get a call. Hi, Eleni. This is Sally, Dave Bing's secretary. I'd like you to come in for a meeting. I wish there was a camera on my face in my home. Yeah. And I mean, he's a man of his word. And if I had the mindset, I guess the moral of the story, if I had the mindset, $600 million company, I'm not in that arena. Why even bother? I took a chance. And it paid off. And I think it's Sir Richard Branson that says, say yes, then figure it out. So don't allow those limiting beliefs, whether it's age or circumstance or other people renting space in your head, stop you from going after an opportunity. And if they say no, big deal. Next.
Yeah, that's a great story. That not only did you own it, but the confidence that you had in yourself. And like you said, listen, there's two outcomes. Either they toss me out and say, get out of here, security, call security on you, or you get a chance to talk with him and you didn't take any risk. You had really nothing to lose. You had everything to gain. And I think a lot of times people, it's the mind killer where they just the self-doubt, they second guess themselves. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times is, stick to it. If you commit yourself to it, stick to it. You can achieve it. You can do it. And I think that story is one of my favorite stories because, you really, it sounds like you really fought against that in the back of your head saying, Eleni, come on, you're not going to, there's no way. And I think a lot of people can learn from that story. And, that's one of many stories. What's amazing about your book is that you drew from your experience as an educator, mm-hmm. a speaker, a motivational coach, working in money mindfulness, but also too in the aspect of reinvention and infinite possibilities. And that's why I think your book. Are you working on another book right now, or have you achieved nirvana?
No, not achieved nirvana. I do have another book in my mind. I haven't officially started working on it yet that I'm excited about.
Is it my unauthorized biography?
No.
Oh, no, it's not. Okay.
But you may be mentioned.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
Eleni, it's been a really great conversation that we've had related to infinite possibilities, reinvention, people being confident and things like that. If there's one advice, let's say some advice that you would leave with somebody, one important piece of advice, what would you leave people watching this broadcast right now?
It's twofold, but it's not too late, first and foremost. If you have the desire to be, do, or have something more in your life, please acknowledge that you have that desire for a reason. And it's not too late to go after it. I think of people that, like Colonel Sanders, started Kentucky Fried Chicken in his late 60s. Grandma Moses didn't start painting till 78 and sold the rights to all her work to Hallmark. And thank God, Betty White, I'm a huge fan. She kept reinventing herself and made it to 99, living a full, joyful life. So please don't think it's too late for you to make a change or create a new chapter. And I promise you, because I know I hear from a lot of people that imposter syndrome sneaks in, but this is all I've ever done. How could I do something different? Then I ask you to look at your experience, look at your skill sets, look at your expertise. It may be all you've ever done, but I promise you it's not all that you are. You can create a new chapter. Decide and commit to it.
Wonderful, wonderful, great advice. Eleni, how can those watching get contact with you, follow you on social media or different platforms?
Yes, thank you for asking. You can find me on LinkedIn, of course, Eleni Anastos. My website is elenianastos.com. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and I always welcome connection and, reach out with any questions or comments. I love to engage in conversation. And as Jim well knows, I really believe in connecting to cultivate.
Very good, very good. Eleni, thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity to have you back on the show again.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute joy to be with you again, Jim.
It's been a joy. Everyone, thank you for watching. Make sure that you do share this broadcast with colleagues and friends because it's a very powerful broadcast. Also, give it a like and make sure that you do follow Eleni, connect with Eleni, and also, too, please, if you're not connected with me, connect with me on my different platforms as well. Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of your day.
I hope you found value with today's Build Out broadcast. Make sure you connect with Jim on LinkedIn and subscribe to his YouTube channel. This way you'll be notified on new live streams and when new content is released. Please give today's broadcast a like and share with your connections and colleagues. Thanks for watching, and please visit buildoutproductions.com for additional content and to join the mailing list so you can keep updated on other streams and quality content from the creators on the Build Out Productions team.